The sun did not shine. It was too wet to play, so we sat in that house all that cold, cold, wet day. I sat there with Sally, we sat there, we two, and I said, how I wish we had something to do. Too wet to go out and too cold to play ball, so we sat in the house, we did nothing at all. So all we could do was to sit, 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 and we did not like it, not one little bit. And then something went bump. How that bump made us jump. We looked, then we saw him step in on the mat. We looked and we saw him, the cat in the hat. And he said to us, why do you sit there like that? I know it is wet and the sun is not sunny, but we can have lots of good fun. That is funny. Then he got up on top with the tip of his hat. I call that game fun in a box, said the cat. In this box are two things I will show to you now. You will like these two things, said the cat with a bow. I will pick up the hook. You will see something new. Two things, and I call them thing one and thing two. These things will not bite you. They want to have fun. Then out of the box came thing two and thing one. And it is the battle of the fakes. So here we go. I have two fake modern Renaissance palettes. I'm not joking. These are definitely fakes. There is no way that I'm getting around that these are fakes. Now, before we go any further, I have a thing about people slating Chinese and Southeast Asian products. There is nothing inherently wrong with the products that come out of China. A lot of the makeup that comes out is absolutely fine, and I have no issue with the product if it comes out under its own brand name. There are a number of different companies who produce very good quality makeup at a reasonable price under their own brands. The brand that springs to mind off the top of my head is Focallure. So if you are interested in finding cheap makeup that you don't mind waiting 4 to 6 weeks for it to arrive up, and you take the risk that it isn't as good a quality as you had hoped, then you can find bargains on AliExpress. But what I wanted to show to you today was that if you are going for fakes, there's a difference between the fakes. And one of the risks that you take when you buy a fake is how good quality the fake is. Now, these two are definitely fakes, okay? I know that because there is no way that I could have paid the prices that I paid for these and them to be the original modern Renaissance palettes. So, saying that, let's go on and do a comparison. So, this is thing one, which I'll refer to as thing one from now onwards, and it is actually a really good dupe. You can see that the Modern Renaissance logo name is raised, it's good quality, it's quite thick, and the Anastasia Beverly Hills logo underneath is in rose gold. It's showing up more gold on the screen, but it is, trust me, it's in rose gold. And it is quite deeply etched. Okay, and on the back we have identical, from what I can find out, of the actual palette, including down to this little E6CA, which I think is supposed to be printed on at the end, but it isn't. The barcode is identical to the real one. It's got the Anastasia Beverly Hills address in the United States on it. This is definitely a dupe. It got a little bit battered coming to me in the post, but actually it's a pretty good quality box and it looks very close to the dupe, to the original, sorry. This one, on the other hand, this is called Thing 2, and what I will point out is that the lettering, while it's nicely raised, is thicker and clunkier than Thing 1. And you can see that the Anastasia Beverly Hills logo, while it is embossed, see if I hold that just at that angle, you can see that it's embossed, but the printing is in white and it's barely showing at all. On the back, it's identical to the other one, same barcode, same address, the 6 months expiry, the E6CA, all of that is identical. The photograph is glossy. Right. So that is the difference between thing one and thing 2. In terms of the colour of the boxes, you can see that this is a lighter pinky beige than that. But as most of us throw away the boxes, what difference does that make? But all of the ingredients are listed on the back of it. Right, so then we get to opening the 2 boxes. And now the big difference that I will note is on the front of this one, again, it's a nice felt pinky beige. It's, again, very close to the original from what I can gather. Okay, the Modern Renaissance name is beautifully embossed in silver, and the Anastasia Beverly Hills, again, is printed in rose gold, and it's deeply etched. On the back, we have a sticker, and it's got all of the ingredients listed. Pretty much the same as everything that was listed on the back of the box. I haven't found any spelling mistakes, but can you see how tiny that writing is? I'm really not going to spend my time looking through that writing to see if I can work out all of it. You know, look for all of the spelling mistakes. But it looks pretty good. Oh, here we go. Discontinue use if signs of rash or irritation apply. It's a dupe. So then we're going to go on to thing 2. Take it out of the box. It's harder to get out of the box. The box is a lot cheaper and nastier. And then again on the front, we have the Modern Renaissance is printed, but this time it's printed in white, not silver. You can see at this end, there's a bit of fading that's actually showing up on screen better than it is in the, as though it was put under a stack and left out, and the stack was left in the sun or something. And the Anastasia Beverly Hills logo is printed again in rose gold, but it's not as deep or as bold as thing 1. Again, it's got the same sticker on the back, and it actually has discontinue use of if signs of rash or irritation appear written on it. So this one, they've actually got it, they've got the spelling mostly correct, but I'm not going to go through that tiny little writing to see if I can find some mistakes. Right, so again, colour difference. This one is a slightly grayer, beigey colour. This one's more brown. And then we get onto the box itself. The quality of thing 1 is a better quality. It's got a nice magnetic catch on it. The edges are lined up. And it looks as though, you know, this could pass. I think this could pass. This one, however, there's no mistaking that it's a dupe. The edges don't match up. Can you see? It doesn't sit square. It doesn't close. The closure isn't as good. The edges don't match up along here. It just is cheaper and nastier. Okay, both have got magnetic catches to hold them closed. So then we get on to looking inside the palette. Now, when it arrived, it had this clear piece over the top of the colours, and it had this protector over the mirror as well, and I took those off so that I could use it. So again, it's all clean inside the palette. The colours are clean, they're a decent size. There's quite a good brush in there, which you can see I've already used. And the mirror is a good quality mirror. Let's not get that too close to the, it'll just cause chaos with the camera. The mirror's a good one, and again, the Anastasia Beverly Hills logo is nicely printed at the bottom, but you can see the magnetic catches. Now, my understanding of the original is that you can't see those magnetic catches, that they've been put in underneath the cardboard, but it does close well. Thing 2, however, when we open it up, if I turn that around, again, it came with a piece of plastic over the colours, but I don't know if you can see how filthy that is. There's muck all over it. There was nothing over the mirror to protect the mirror, and I haven't used this except to swatch it, and can you see how much dirt has come off? little bits of colour have come off. And then if I compare the size of the palettes, you can see that there's if I put them together side by side, they are slightly smaller than thing 1. So that's thing 1 and that's thing 2. The brush in thing 2, so this is thing 2's brush versus thing 1's. Let's get them both out. Thing 1 is dirty because I've used it, but okay, different ends. So on this one, on thing 1, we've got a big fluffy brush at one end, and on thing 2, we've got what I would call a flat brush, probably comparable to one of my Studio 5 brushes. On the other end, the brushes seem to be about identical. The bristles on thing 1 are a bit better than thing 2, and then the logos, see if I can put them the right way up and turn them around so that you can see. They've got the logos on them. This is thing 1 on the top, and it doesn't have the ABH circular bit there, but thing 2 does. Okay, so then we're going to get on to swatching. So I'm going to put thing 1 down on one side of my laptop and thing 2 down on the other. The other thing about the quality of the palettes, the quality of the writing on thing 1 is better. You can see it's embossed and it's gold and it's quite clear. And then thing 2, it's still embossed and it's gold, but it just looks a bit tackier. I think part of it is that the actual box itself isn't flat. They're both made out of cardboard, as is the original, but the quality of the cardboard on thing 2 is just mediocre. Okay, so let's get back to swatching. So thing 1 is going on my left and thing 2 is going on my right. I'm going to need a wipe to be able to wipe my fingers in between. And we're going to work our way across the top line at the moment. And I'm going to do both a brush swatch for you and a finger swatch. So we're going to start with the finger swatch. I'm going to put thing 1 on my pointer and thing 2 on my middle finger. And we're just going to swatch those. So this one is thing 1 and this one is thing 2. And you can see thing 2 is considerably powderier than thing 1. Is that a word? Powderier? And then we're going to take the brush. We'll do thing 1 first. Tempera is not going to show up all that well, I hasten to point out, in any sort of swatching because it's almost identical to my skin colour. So that's thing 1 and then thing 2. Yeah, you're not going to be able to see that at all. Yeah, they've gone. Okay. So then we're going to go onto golden ochre. So forefinger is thing 1. Middle finger is thing 2. And again, we're going to swatch. And golden ochre under thing 1 is just a bit darker than my skin tone. And thing 2, it just disappears. Okay, so let's do a brush swatch and see if any of that shows up. Thing 1. Do you know how hard it is to brush when you're looking at a mirror image of yourself? And then thing 2. Considerably lighter. Okay. Then Vermeer, which is a beautiful almost rose gold, and we're going to go pointer into thing 1 and middle finger into thing 2, and we're going to swatch that down. And there we go, there's Vermeer. Again, Vermeer's coming up, and thing 1 is coming up this beautiful little rose gold. And thing 2, I can barely see it on my see, look, there's thing 1. Thing 2 is just underneath it, and I can barely see it at all. So let's try again. Let's see if I can build up that colour. Not happy with that. So let's do a brush swatch. So Vermeer, very powdery, very, very powdery. Let's see. Thing 1. That's quite nice, actually. And then thing 2. Not very good at all. Bon Fresco is the next one. On my forefinger and on my middle finger. I don't know if you can see that all that well. There. And then we're going to swatch down the hand. Okay, now on thing 1 is this one here on this side. Thing 1 has more of a consistent pigmentation. Thing 2 runs out very, very quickly. You can see. Right. So let's do brush swatches. Thing 1. Oh, that one's not good. It's not brush swatching all that well. Let's try again a bit more. Right. Let's try thing 2. Is that showing up at all? Considerably lighter. Considerably lighter. I have to say, on both of them, the metallics seem to hold up better than the mattes do. And Bon Fresco is a matte. So then we go on to Antique Bronze. Let's clean off that finger. Okay, Antique Bronze, thing 1. And Antique Bronze, thing 2. And we're going to swatch those. Ugh! Thing 2 is like mud. It's reasonably well pigmented, but that's quite a vastly different colour there. This one's a pinky tone, and this one's a mud brown. It's intriguing. Okay, so let's do brush swatches of both of those. It's really quite hard to do this back to front. Okay. Antique Bronze on thing 2 is practically falling apart in the pan. And again, it's coming out on the brush okay, but I have to work to get that pigmentation. I quite like the gold undertone, but it's just, what do I expect? It's a fake. Oh, Love Letter. Now, Love Letter is my favourite colour because it's a hot pink. I like hot pinks. So we're going to do finger swatch first. So Love Letter. I have cheated because I've already swatched this one. So I know that they don't compare at all. So here we go. That's thing 1. And that's thing 2. And if we compare those two, thing 2 is definitely not the same quality as thing 1. If I blend them a bit, that's more apparent. And I will hasten to point out, thing 1 in Love Letter has a tendency to stain my hand a bit. So that's intriguing. Okay, love letter in thing 1 is brushing up quite nicely. And I'll have to turn the brush over. I might have to change brushes now because I think this is wet and too dark. Okay, and thing 2. So it might be that, you know, if I want them to work really well, I'm going to need to use a setting spray. Yeah, that brush is now wet. So we'll swap brushes, go with a clean, dry brush. But it'll do the same job. More importantly, it's clean. Okay, so now we're going on to Cypress Umber, which is the matte brown. And that's it from thing 1. And that's it from thing 2. Trying to hold them up so you can see them, okay? Swatching them on the back of my hand as a drag down. And you can see that thing 1 is a browner brown. If I blend it out a bit, it's just more pigmented. Okay, so burnt umber from thing 1 on a brush. I think you'd need a little bit of, you just need this one, thing 1, you need a little bit of building up in order to get the same coverage as I expect you would need with the original. And then thing 2, I think is just going to be disappointing. Can you see that? I think you would have to work quite hard to get the same build up. So let's now go on to, we're now on to the bottom row. And from thing 1, we've got raw sienna. And from thing 2, raw sienna. I have to say the colours look fairly the same between the two palettes most of the time within the palette. The raw sienna from thing 2 looks more orange and certainly doesn't look like a raw sienna that I know. Okay, so here we go, swatching. Yeah, okay, so this is thing 1 and this is thing 2, and thing 1 is definitely a more rust colour, and thing 2 is definitely a more orangey colour. Still very crumbly. The matte shades are much more crumbly than the, there we go. So that's raw sienna from thing 1 and raw sienna from thing 2. Okay, raw sienna from thing 2 is actually holding up. I could probably make use of that if I were to spend time working on building it up. Okay, now we move on to burnt orange. Yeah, you'll see I'm keep blowing them because there's just so much fallout of both of them. But I've not tested the original one, so I don't know how much fallout you get from that one. Right, so this is burnt orange, and the two colours in the palette seem to be quite similar. So let's now swatch those down the back of my hand. Yeah, again, the pigmentation in thing 1 is more consistent than thing 2. Okay, so burnt orange, thing 1. That one's not brushing as well as at all. And thing 2, yeah, under a brush they both perform equally awfully. So then we move on to Primavera from thing 1. Comes up like that. Whoops. And Primavera from thing 2 comes up. So they're both quite goldy. Let's see how they swatch now. Oh, quite nice. Can you see that gold tone? That is just gorgeous. Okay, so this one's thing 1. This is thing 2. Again, the pigmentation seems more consistent again with thing 1. The metallics are still holding up better than the mattes across both palettes. So Primavera brush swatched from thing 1. And swatch it from thing 2. Just not the same. They don't brush out well. I think thing 2's Primavera might make a nice gold highlighter if you were into a gold highlighter. But I think as an eyeshadow, you'd be spending so much time trying to get the coverage that you were looking for that you'd be disappointed in it. Okay, now we're getting into the more darker shades now. We're bang on halfway through the bottom row now, so bear with me. Right, red ochre from thing 1 and red ochre from thing 2. Again, they both look fairly much the same colour. Let's see how they swatch. More pigment in thing 1. Thing 2 is a different colour. So red ochre under thing 1 is pinker, and under thing 2 is more rust. So let's see again, brush swatches. And if you're wondering how come I'm doing the brush swatch, I find that makeup performs differently depending on how you put it on. So here we go. Here's red ochre as a brush swatch. We're going to need a bit more than that, aren't we? Yeah, it could work. It will blend out, I think. Turn the brush over into thing 2 and okay, yeah, that's not good. I'm not sure I could even be bothered to make red ochre under thing 2 work. Okay, that's impressive. That's the excess from thing 1 on that brush, because I'm doing this in between each swatch. So that's impressive. So now we're moving on to Venetian Red, which is a deep, under thing 1 is a deep red, almost a burgundy, but under thing 2 is quite pink. It's not far from Love Letter, just hasn't quite got the vibrancy of Love Letter. Okay, so here we go. Here we are, we're on to Venetian Red. Okay, quite different in colour tone there. This is thing 1, this is thing 2. Deeper red on this. I think you could build that up into quite a nice red. It's almost a pillar box red, whereas this one is definitely more pink. Okay, let's see how. Oh, and under the thing 1, I don't know if you can just, if not sure if the camera's going to pick it up, but there is this ever so slight shimmer. I would call that a satin finish rather than a matte finish. I like satin finishes. You can do things with those when you're old and wrinkly that you can't do with the sparkle finishes. Okay, so here we go, swatching with a brush. This is Venetian Red. Yes, Venetian Red. Again, I can make that work. I have to blend it out a bit, but yeah, that looks as though it would work. Turn the brush over, Venetian Red into thing 2, and we're going to brush down. I'm serious, guys. Do you have time for all of that in order to make that work? I don't. It doesn't even blend. It's all patchy. Can you see? It's gone all patchy on my skin. Okay. 2 more to go. Penultimate colour now. We're on to Warm Taupe. Warm Taupe from thing 1 and Warm Taupe from thing 2. Now on the palette, Warm Taupe in thing 2 is more brown, and Warm Taupe in thing 1 is closer to what I would expect taupe to look like. It's kind of a grey brown. Oh dear. Oh dear. Okay, so Yeah, pigmentation not great in thing 2, so it's been consistent at least. It's been consistently bad. Warm taupe in thing 1 is a little bit patchy, but it seems to blend reasonably well. Warm taupe in thing 1. And warm taupe in thing 2. Seriously. Barely see it. Doesn't even have a shimmer to it. It's just, yeah, no. Okay, we're now on to the last colour. This is Real Gar. And Real Gar is a more orange colour. I think it's a matte. So that's Real Gar from thing 1. In thing 2, Real Gar is a darker, considerably darker orange and kind of more brown in it. So, I didn't clear off the last swatch well. So then we're going to swatch those two finger swatches. Okay, so the Real Gar from thing 1 seems quite pigmented and blends out nicely. Thing 2, it blends out nicely, but it doesn't got anywhere the pigmentation that thing 1's got. Okay, so last brush swatch of the thing 1. Okay, I can make that one work. It blends reasonably well. You can see how well it's blending. Thing 2. Okie dokie. Let's go back in for a second coat. I don't think you could even build that up. I think you'd be spending all of your time building it up. And it's patchy as well. I mean, I know I've got freckles there, but really, some of those bumps are not freckles. Okay. So that's the swatches done. Okay, I've now taken off my eye makeup. It's a little bit later in the day as I had to go off and, be a responsible parent and work and do things like that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take thing 1 and thing 2, and I'm going to put thing 1 on this side of my face and thing 2 on this side of my face. And I've got basically just a whole bunch of brushes here so that I don't contaminate, and I can try out different brushes with different things, see what I can come up with, and hopefully we'll make this work. So just lay these both out in front of me. And okay, and I think we'll start with the brushes that came with the kits. And it was this brush that came with thing 2 and this brush that came with thing 1. So let's get started. I think what I will do is take, let's take tempera and just run that over the whole of the lid as a base. Oh my goodness, the fallout is incredible. Okay. And again, if I'm looking over your head, it's because I have a mirror set up behind the laptop. But because it's later in the day, I've also set up my ring light so that you get a fairly good view. Now, I just used the fluffy brush of thing 1, so that means I have to use the flat brush of thing 2 if I'm going to stick to my own rules here. There's no rules. There are rules. I'm setting rules for myself. Okay, so that's a base coat. So now I think as my transition colour, I'm going to take the black end of the brush, and I think for my transition colour, I'm going to use a bit of raw sienna. So let's see what we get with raw sienna. Okay, that's not too bad then. We've got a kind of orangey tone going on. supposed to be going out tonight, so I don't know what I'm going to wear yet. Maybe I'll have to tie what I'm wearing in with the makeup that I've just done. I'm just going to blend that down onto the lid. Sorry about that, the doorbell went and I had to run off and go and answer it. So here we go. I've just done raw sienna on my right eye, and I'm now going to do the raw sienna from the thing 2 on the left eye. So, okay, it's swatching going better onto the eye than it did onto the back of my hand. If you recall, the colours were not at all bright on my hand. Quite different colour tones though. This one's far more yellow than this one. This one's more of a browny colour. But I'm hoping that once I've got all of the colours on, that it won't be that noticeable. And I'm just going to go in with my usual big fluffy brush that I use for blending. And I'm going to blend. This is by Studio 5 London. And it's just the biggest of the fluffy brushes in that. Okay. Right, so I think then, I think I want this to kind of be a pinky kind of look. So I think what I'm going to then do is go into Love Letter and just put that into the crease and then blend that out with the other end of the brush. The thing I will say for thing 1 is that it doesn't require any work at all to get any colour into it. Now with thing 2 I'm going to take the same Love Letter, which is a darker colour in the palette. I'm going to take that, and of course the brush is different, so this is going to be interesting. Take that up into the crease. And then blend it out with the other side. Oh. That's dramatically different. Okay, so I have to take some more Love Letter. And that into the crease. Maybe it's buildable. Maybe I can get the same intensity of colour if I just keep building layers. It's a different colour though, that's the problem. So let's go back to thing 1 here. Okay, now what I next wanted to do was I wanted to go under the eye. Well, I'm obviously not going to be able to go under the eye with that brush because it's just too thick. So I'm going to take the brush that I normally use for under eye work from my Studio 5 collection. Where's it gone? It's this one here, which is just a flat eye brush. See, it's quite reasonably slender. And I'm going to go back into that Love Letter and we're going to run that underneath the bottom lash. Turn it over, Love Letter from thing 2 and run that underneath the love lash. So can you see is there a colour difference between those two? It's certainly, oh yeah, this one's, okay, smoke this out a bit more. I get the funny feeling that thing 2 performs better if the colours are slightly wet. So that might be a solution. Okay, this is all a bit crazy at the moment. So I think the next thing I'm going to do is we're going to go in with a bit of Venetian red. And again, I can't use that brush to go in with Venetian red because I want to get in a smaller concentration. So I'm going to use that same brush that I used for my eyeline to just go in and do kind of a C. Let's get quite a lot of colour on that. And I just want to get into that corner there and darken that up quite a bit. And then go in with my fluffy blending brush and just blend it. Okay. To keep things fair, because that has got a flat end to it, I'm going to take the thick brush from thing 2 into thing 2, into the Venetian red in the thing 2, and do the same thing that I just did on my right eye on my left. So take it into the C curve of the crease, and then I've got to go back for more. It requires a lot more pigmentation. I have to be careful because I'm short-sighted in my right eye, so when I close my left eye I can't see what I'm doing. Can you see how patchy that is? It's just not going on very well on that eye there. I'm really having to work to get an even pigmentation, whereas I have to say thing 1 behaved and went quite well. Okay, so take that same fluffy brush from my Studio 5 collection and blend it out again. I quite like that. But I need an even thinner brush now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my Studio 5 collection, and I've got this very thin brush here. This one's very, very fine, quite thin at all. Go back into that Venetian red and just go right on the lash line there. Turn the brush over, take it into thing 2 and do the same thing. So again, just under the lash line there. Okay, and then just to really darken up those corners, I think what I want to do now is I've got a short stubby brush here. You can see the bristles are quite short, so I can get really quite in and do corners there. I'm just going to take a little bit of the red ochre and go in right on the edge there, right on the corner of the eye. And then, now the red ochre on thing 2 is it's what I would call Ayers Rock dust with a bit of glitter added into it. So any of you who've been to Uluru will know what I'm talking about. It's that really rusty red that you only get in central and northern Australia. I'm sorry to my British viewing public that I'm referring something that's quite obscure, but once you've had a shower where you have rivulets of red dust flying down, it was an experience. Okay, now just to make things a little bit easier, I'm just going to take in I'm going to dip into the tempera again, which was that original bone colour, and use that to kind of just blend out the whole of that lid. Blend everything together and kind of soften it down a bit. Same thing on the other side. And tempera. It's really hard to remember which palette you're dipping into, I have to say. Okay, so how are we doing there? Looks a bit kind of strange. So I think what I'm just going to do, gone probably a little bit too. Right, I just think I want to, it's feeling very pink, which is kind of fine. I don't have a problem with that, but I do want it to be a little bit more sensible. So I'm going to go back in with this short stubby brush that I've got from Studio 5. And I'm going to go into, now what's this one? Cypress Umber, which is the darkest of the matte browns. And we'll just take that into the corner over the top of that, what was it? Red ochre. And we're just going to calm that all down just a little bit. Bit up into the crease. And then a bit down onto the lower lash line. Okay, so again from thing 2, same brush, into the corner there, and up into the crease. I've got to go back for more. The pigmentation in thing 2 is just really quite, yeah, there's not much there. It looks really impressive in the pan, but once you get it out of the pan onto the brush and then onto your face, it washes out. It's really quite dull. Okay, big fluffy brush again and blend. Okay, now I just want to finish off with a bit of bling. So we're going to take, I've got a little angled brush here, which I quite often use for my eyebrows, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Primavera and just add this on my lower lash line from the end to the center and from the corner halfway along. Oh, and the fallout. Oh my God. Oh, so much. And then I'm just going to take a little bit of that. I don't really have a choice. It's giving me a lot. So I'll just put that into my tear duct to kind of highlight that out a bit. Right, so on the thing 2 side, the Primavera is a lot less sparkly in the palette. And again, I think this was one of the ones that really didn't swatch very well. Certainly having to go back into it. Less fallout, I'll give it that. But nowhere the same amount of bling. Oh, try not to stab yourself in the eye. It's not a good idea, not a good look. Ah. Just a little bit of sparkle there. And then I think I'm just going to take the big fluffy brush as a final thing and just tap it into the Vermeer and just blend out along my brow bone there to give a little subtle highlight. Is that working? Yeah, a bit more. I've got a little towel on the side here and I'm just patting the brushes off in between. Okay, so from thing 2 onto the left eye. Okay, so that's the final eye look. I'm just going to stop the video, finish up my makeup, and then I'll come back and have a look and see how it's doing. Back in a minute. Okay, and that is now the final look. I'm not going to lie, I just took ages to try and get that eyeliner. I was using yesterday's Makeup Revolution eyeliner and the Soap and Glory one that, if you have a look at my pharmacy makeup video, you'll see I was using, and I'm still struggling with it. I think liquid liners are probably very good if you don't have any wrinkles on your eyes whatsoever, but I've got very, very delicate skin around my eyes now. There are lots of tiny, tiny little wrinkles that don't necessarily show up on camera all that well, and it just means that the liquid liner really doesn't go through. I think I prefer a pencil liner. So yeah, you can see it's gone all horrible in here and at the edge here and at the edge here. It's not good. So I'll probably have to tidy that up before I go out, but I'm not going to do anything with it now because I need to actually go and cook some dinner for my short person. And I may not stick with this lipstick. It's a one that I had to hand. The rest of my makeup kit is elsewhere in the house, and but that's the look. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. I'd really be happy if you did. And if you want to get more videos from me about how to deal with, at the moment I'm doing comparisons of other makeup. I will be moving back to comparing Unique with other makeups so that you can see what you're getting for your money. I have several videos in plan. I was currently planned. I've got the idea of a half face of Unique and half a face of all my other makeup. I'm going to compare Unique lipsticks, liquid lipsticks with some of the other brand lipsticks that are of an equivalent high-end nature. And if there's anything in particular that you would like to see, then please just comment below. Hit subscribe, and I look forward to talking to you again. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.